Okay, where we're at right now is that just last week, April 24th, the EDPAB board made their recommendations to the NYPA Board of Trustees and basically recommended 517 contracts to be awarded, approximately 596 megawatts. Of the contracts, 320 were to businesses, 122 were to smaller businesses, and 75 to non-for-profits. The methodology that NYPA utilized to make the awards is that it was a very competitive process, over 1,000 actual applications received. They had about a 10-point criteria that they utilized. In the actual scoring, NYPA encompassed about 80% of the score, and the regional councils were accounted for the other 20%. Basically, the allocation methodology used was for the larger industrial-type customers. If they scored high in their ranking, they received a 50% allocation, or they were capped at no greater than 10 megawatts. For the non-for-profit applicants who scored high, they were recommended for a 33% requested award, or capped at 5 megawatts. And then finally, some other customers that were also part of other NYPA programs were recommended for 25% of requested amounts with the same caps as above. And as I stated previously, the contract terms are for 7 years. And I know many people on this phone receive their packages in the mail the very next day. And part of the contract terms require an energy efficiency audit once in a 5-year period of time, and then to maintain certain commitments for employment, capital investment, the actual power utilization, and the requirement to make the facility available for potential assessments, as well as a requirement to submit reports as required. Nicole, if you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, a couple of key things. Now we're at the point where people are starting to work through their actual allocations, and they're in a position where they need to make their next set of energy decisions for either their business or their organization. The total customer requirements equal your ReCharge hydro plus the ReCharge market procured power, and the two of them together in your contracts is termed blended power, plus whatever residual power requirements that are not covered by the actual ReCharge award. And the point that we want to make on this equation would be, first of all, there's a delivery discount that's available for the full ReCharge allocation, and that's for the hydro piece as well as a market procured piece, regardless of whether or not you secure it through NYPA or through a third-party ESCO. And basically what's involved in the delivery discount is that a number of surcharges will be exempted from the delivery portion of the bill. And that some of those surcharges would be the Energy Efficiency Portfolio Standard, the Renewable Portfolio Standard, and the System Benefit Charge. And so a couple of key questions would be right now is, should I accept the NYPA blended rate and the ReCharge allocation offer? And keep in mind, on the blended rate, 50% of that is NYPA market procured power, and you have a one-time opportunity to accept it or reject it. If you reject it, then for the 7-year term, you're in the market to secure that power through some other supply channels. If you accept it, you're in the program under the NYPA handling of that market procured piece. Couple other key things to keep in mind on the NYPA procured piece, and that would be each year NYPA will provide an estimate to successful ReCharge applicants. Normally that will take place in in the spring time frame, the May-June time frame, to be effective for the next 12-month period of time, which is July 1st through June 30th of the following year. Now, that's an estimate, and under the tariff provisions, NYPA reserves the right to make adjustments to those rates depending on the actual market outcomes. And generally on the market procured part of it, the actual frequency is still to be determined by the New York Power Authority. On the hydro piece, the frequency may be more of an annual type basis to look at the actual any additional adders to that particular cost. The second thing would be that the estimate is based on 4 specific zones. There's a zone A through E, which would be an average of those zones, a zone F through, what would it be, Bob? F through J. F through K, and then zone J and Long Island. So there's actually 4 zones that they're utilizing. Nicole, if you could go to the next slide. And then this last slide, kind of the key points I just wanted to stress here is there's maybe a couple key criteria. The first is the term length. The recharge allocation is for a 7-year term. The market piece of the blended rate will be calculated on an annual basis. So a difference there would be if you considered an ESCO, you could potentially go a longer term period of time and maybe manage or hedge some energy risk differently than if you go year to year. Second thing would be your residual power. Pretty much everybody's in the same position, is that anything not covered by the allocation, there's still a market need to cover the remaining needs. And then the key question will be, how do I line that up with my allocation I receive? And then lastly, capacity risk. And that capacity cost under the recharge are annual type determination, whereas again you may be able to go a little bit longer term with a third-party ESCO. And those are my initial comments, and I want to pass it over to Bob, who will handle tariffs and contracts.